Hello everybody, welcome to the Business Professor Show. J. Mance Gordon here as your host. What I want to talk to you about today is apprenticeships. And that's not a word you hear a great deal anymore because it's a little bit antiquated because we don't generally integrate apprenticeships into the U.S. education system and the career system. Rather, we have things like internships and cooperatives and externships, if you will, which is really included into the aegis of internships. But the question here is there value in having apprenticeships today and time? And what could be some of the hindrances as to actually effectuating this? So let's first look at an apprenticeship and say, what is it? Well, it's generally where you undertake to work for someone and you are learning their skill or craft. Now, you're compensated usually, but you're not compensated very much. And under U.S. law, you would certainly have to be compensated because you're not just learning, you're actually providing value to the employer. Now, what is the reason historically for apprenticeships? Well, generally, there were no educational systems where individuals could learn how to do things, except for to go work for someone and learn how to do it. And arguably, that is still the very best way to learn how to do things. That's why educational institutions focus on higher level concepts and thoughts and your ability to think and come to logical conclusions by applying frameworks to information or scenarios at hand, etc. So it teaches you how to think, not what to think or the specific manner for doing things, unless that's your intention in a given course or whatever. But it's expanding your knowledge, if you will. But when you join the workforce, you tend to specifically learn how to do things. And that was the purpose of the apprenticeship. You would learn specifically how to do things under the tutelage of someone who was already doing that thing. And ultimately, you became proficient at it and you were able to work your way up in society by doing that trade. You would either continue to do it for the individual with whom you held the apprenticeship for throughout your career, or you'd go out and do it on your own, or you join another organization doing that thing. But particularly where apprenticeships were used in the European system, which the U.S. largely adopted because of how the U.S. came into existence, we weren't dealing with the same scenario in terms of how you got jobs. In the European environment, if you didn't have a recommendation from your employer, you had a very difficult time finding another job. That is, if you were fired or left your job without a recommendation or something like that, you were going to have a difficult time. So there was not as much job mobility. Now, that has not been the case in the United States. The whole foundation on the American dream has given rise to a great deal of job mobility and the ability to go out and do your own thing or take part in some new company that is formed based upon the growth trajectory of the nation and stuff like that. It was very easy to find work in various fields or change fields or even create your own thing compared to the old English system. So in that way, apprenticeships somewhat went out of style. Or even if it didn't go out of style, it took on a different form, that you were simply an early level employee where you were working, and ultimately if you learned the craft or trade, then you could go do it. But the formal apprenticeship structure began to die out. Now, eventually, we came up with this concept of internships, and that was connecting the educational environment to the workforce. And early on, engineering degree programs were the first to implement this because they are so focused on the actual carrying out of tasks that they learn as part of the educational program. So they did cooperatives where you would work a semester or a quarter and then go to school for a semester or a quarter, etc., in order to hone the specific skills you were learning in the classroom in the actual environment where you were carrying those things out. And internships spread to other environments as well, where you would intern with businesses that were in the field or career area that you were studying. And so there you have it. So we developed the internship program more so. But my question for you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the forum down here, is there value for bringing back this apprenticeship program? That is where you either instead of or perhaps in conjunction with educational programs, you out of school undertake a formalized program that is expected to last a certain amount of time, that is heavily focused on you learning how to do the skills or trade, and is structured in a way that complies with the federal labor standards and the requirements for compensation and withholding and things like that meet all U.S. regulations and laws. Obviously, it would take some consideration of the value received by the employer versus the value received by the employee, and what after the apprenticeship were the hopes in terms of career ability after that point. Because once again, college institutions have the signaling function of their degree, and in the old system you had recommendations from your employer. Is there another means of method where you could bring the apprenticeship back and make it align better with how our employment system functions today? Please, if you got thoughts, voice them in the forum, let us know, because we'd love to take part in the conversation. But regardless, I hope to see you around the community soon. Until then, take care. Hello everybody. I hope you're enjoying the content, and please pardon the interruption. I just want to take a moment to remind you that this is just a small sample of the various resources we have in our academy at thebusinessprofessor.com. We have long-form book summaries, business courses, business and legal templates, a career TV channel, an AI-powered business encyclopedia, recent headlines, and lots of other benefits to explore as well. So please, I hope to see you as a member of the community sometime in the future.